them. The long barrel forced them out. One victim was thrown to the ground. Her head was stomped on. Suspects got away with several rings, cell phone, and car stereo.
When officers report for duty, they come in and they will attend their roll call. This is a opportunity for officers to exchange information between other officers who are going off shift. The equipment that these officers are checking out on a daily basis will be less lethal equipment, which is a beanbag shotgun, tasers. They also will check out their AR-15 semi-automatic rifle, their portable intoxilizer, some of the other pieces of equipment that they have that I think that we are very fortunate to have and pretty unique is a thermal imaging device. We have the in-car computers. We have in-car cameras that capture the officers when they're out on traffic stops. I think that the Parker Police Department has taken a very strong approach when it comes to being proactive, keeping our officers well equipped, as well as keeping up with technology.
The police department is organized in two divisions. The patrol division has the patrol operation and the traffic enforcement operation. The investigations division includes records and communications, property and evidence, victim advocate, and the detectives. In both of those divisions, we have support staff, and without those excellent folks, not much of the work would get done.
Each day is different. There's a lot of things that we do that we want our officers to be involved in on a day-to-day basis, and that is we want officers to be out working traffic, which we believe is one of the most important functions that the officers are working.
If we can enforce the traffic laws, working on red light violations, speeding, not using signals, weaving DUIs, if we can go out there and prevent a lot of the people from getting into those situations, we're going to turn around and prevent a lot of accidents that occur.
You are receiving a summons for doing 59 miles an hour in a 45-mile-an-hour zone.
Well, what I like best about the job is being out on the street, meeting the community members, talking with the business owners, learning more about Parker and what Parker has to offer to its community.
For a community of 40,000 persons, Parker has a very low crime rate, especially with regard to violent crime, and that's something that we're really trying to preserve. We do an awful lot of training with our police officers, and I think our officers are probably better trained than most other police departments in the Denver metropolitan area.
Our officers are provided on the average of about 200 hours a year in training.
Please drop your weapon.
That is a tremendous amount of training.
I think the officers that work for our department are very well rounded. They get a lot of training. They all want to do the right thing. They believe in community policing.
Before community policing, officers were asked to be in their patrol cars as much as possible so that they could respond quickly to emergency calls and so they could be visible in the neighborhoods patrolling. But community policing asks officers to get out of their cars and talk to people and share information, and that is much more valuable.
Well, community policing is working with your community and the community members and not taking on a problem and trying to solve it yourself, but dealing with the community members and helping them solve the problems.
You look in our lobby and you see when you walk in, there's toys and everything like that for kids to play with. You don't see that in very many police departments, and I think that that's part of the small town feel in the community policing atmosphere that the officers really and the department really want to convey. Parker Police, what's the emergency?
Aggravated robbery just occurred at a residence. Suspects left scene with a victim vehicle, a silver Chevrolet Tahoe.
There was stuff everywhere. There were cars bashed in, windows broken. It was quite a scene.
Stay on the line, ma'am. This is Parker with a medical transfer. Go ahead, ma'am.
And he was crying, screaming, and I've just never seen anyone in so much pain.
We just see it way too often that people think that they're okay to drive, and you know they're just going a little ways, or who knows what their thought process is.
They ordered some food and left. And approximately 5 minutes later, the mail came back, requested a refill, Upon paying for that, when the register opened, he produced a handgun and helped himself to the cash in the drawer.
There was a fatal motorcycle accident on Hilltop and Pine. We have an inexperienced driver on the motorcycle trying to learn on someone else's motorcycle. This motorcycle is a very big motorcycle. It's a Harley-Davidson Road King.
I think a lot of times people have to use, their best judgment when you think something is suspicious. That's what we're here for.
It's a residential alarm at a house. It's supposed to be the motion detector in the basement that's going off.
RP is a female. She's very hysterical, advising a male who is an alcoholic is seizing and is detoxing.
If I can convince them to come back and pay, would you be willing to accept that, or do you want them charged with gas theft?
You remember the car accidents, you remember the families, their faces, you remember the children in the hospitals, and those things never fade away from you.
We're there to support them, to just give them the extra care and understanding.
Parker Police, what's the emergency? Hello? The jobs of the dispatcher is we answer a lot of emergency and non-emergency calls. We help people with their questions, with their concerns, with their emergencies. We get the appropriate help to them. We try to help them keep calm in very stressful situations. I think the best part is probably when the officers are out with someone or they're out on a call and we have to do a little bit of investigating ourselves, looking at history and at the house, or looking at history of the person, what contacts we've had with them, things like that. I really enjoy that part because you really feel like part of the team.
Well, I think dispatch is kind of the pivotal point for our job. Without dispatch, we wouldn't really get all the information that we need.
You get an array of things, definitely in Parker. It's not just, very mild or, barking dogs or things like that. You pretty much run the gamut in Parker. A lot of people are surprised when they hear that.
Some of the most common calls that we're receiving in Parker now are family disturbances, traffic issues, traffic complaints, road rage.
We're seeing an increase in auto thefts. We're seeing an increase in burglaries.
Identity theft, credit card fraud, check fraud, those types of crimes.
And most recently we had a credit union that was involved in an armed robbery, where a male subject came in and robbed the credit union for some unknown amount of money.
I believe it was about 9:30 in the morning when we got the call. They reported that they had been robbed, that the individual fled on a bike. They described the suspect as either a Hispanic or light-skinned black male, and that during the robbery he had tied the employees up with zip ties.
Felony cases typically require a lot more follow-up investigation, a lot more specialized investigation, evidence processing, things of that nature. Those felony cases are forwarded so that detectives are able to go ahead and work those cases, follow them up, and then bring them to a conclusion. The investigations unit is mainly comprised of 5 detectives who do the vast majority of the case investigation and follow-up. Currently, the average caseload per detective is approximately 45 to 55 cases at all times. Those cases are all made up of felony-type crimes, felony investigations. They are cases that are more complex. However, in the whole scope of things, the crime rate in the town of Parker is relatively lower than other communities. This is a safe community to live in. We're very lucky here in Parker to have the caliber of detective that we have. They're very dedicated to their cases and to the citizens that they're working for.
Our officers, I think, are very customer service oriented, and they're people just like the rest of us out here in our community.
There's a camaraderie that you get with the officers on the street. It's not just a voice on the radio.
They're human. They're a citizen, they're a father, they're a mother, they're a brother and a sister to somebody else.
I believe that the people here really care about the concerns of the citizens of Parker. In order to appropriately address those concerns, we need the people to talk to the police officers, to share information, to develop trust between one another. And doing that will enable us and the community to make this a much safer place to live.
To contact the Parker Police Department, call 303-841-9800 or dial 911 for an emergency.